Los Angeles or New York, but in Des Moines and Greenville, who are demanding change. And the idea that you would say that law enforcement itself, that has lost the trust of communities of color in particular, and that communities that are white are saying, we don't even believe you anymore. We think you got to change. We don't think you're accountable. We think you think you're above the law. That those are the people Jared Kushner is telling us should lead reform. Literally the fox in the hen house. So
Jonathan Karl
is out of touch, to say the least.
I'm sorry, Maya. Jonathan Karl, you cover Charlottesville in your book. You talk about this president on race in your book. We kind of have come to know this president on the topic of race. So let's just say that maybe there are folks in the West Wing who don't feel a national speech on the topic is a good idea. Are they, at a sheer political level, are they not, as some have said, on the wrong side of history? Are they now bumping up against demographics in a way that they've moved on and it could be fatal to a re-election campaign?
It sure feels that way, Brian. I mean, if you look at the West Wing, it's one of the least diverse workspaces in America. When the president made that walk across Lafayette Park to the front of St. John's Church, he went with a handful of his top advisors. Every single one of them was white. If you look at virtually any meeting there in the West Wing, unless it's one where he's brought in his Opportunity Zones group, it is almost entirely white. I wrote in Charlottesville. His campaign, his team back then, his advisors got him to give a national address, and he did it. It's been almost entirely forgotten to history because the next day he came out and made impromptu remarks about how there were very fine people on both sides of the protest in Charlottesville, very fine people marching hand in hand with white supremacists carrying tiki torches in Charlottesville. What I found out in reporting on that is they were so anxious to get him to talk to the country and give these prepared remarks that everybody quickly forgot about, that in the meeting leading up to it, the president met with some of his top advisors right there in the residence at the White House, and he went through the exact same rants, praising Confederate generals, Stonewall Jackson and Robert E. Lee, talking about the fine people marching to keep their statues from coming down. And nobody, John Kelly was there, Jeff Sessions was there, Christopher Wray, who just became FBI director, was there. They all heard the president give this rant, and nobody pushed back at all. He went back and he read his prepared remarks they wanted him to read, and then the next day he said virtually exactly what he had said in private, and it became what was, I would argue, until 2020, probably the low point of the Trump presidency. All his advisors knew that's what he was saying. They knew that's where his head was at, and they did not try to talk him out of it.
And Phil Rucker, then we have just the visuals. We have the Attorney General happening to drop into conversation today that, yes, indeed, the president was in the bunker, that the president tried to pass off as the kind of routine bunker inspection one does. You have pictures of razor wire atop the new barricades outside the White House. You have protests on American streets every night for 14 nights. Those visuals start to add up.
They do, Brian, and what they tell is a story of a White House, of an administration trying to deceive the public about what happened last Monday night in Lafayette Square. I would add, by the way, to that visual, a documentary that our team at the Washington Post put together that shows minute by minute in that square the coordination among those federal law enforcement authorities about how they were going to go after the peaceful protesters and some of the weapons they used, and it completely contradicts the narrative that has come out of the White House, and it shows the degree to which they were trying to deceive the public. But beyond that, there's a picture here of an administration and the White House under siege, literally, with that barricade around the expanded White House security perimeter. My reporting shows that the White House staff are eager to get those fences down. They claim they don't have any credit for it. Nonetheless, it feeds this impression of the president militarizing what has become a social justice movement across this country and using military force and the power of his office to try to hold back the calls for change from so many people in the street.
To our big three tonight, our thanks. We're always happy when Jonathan Karl takes a wrong turn on his way to ABC News, and to our friends Phil Rucker and Maya Wiley, thank you as always. Coming up here tonight, there's a lot of talk about breaking down the police, starting all over again.